Hi witches, welcome to episode 93 of the Witching Week. Today we're going to be looking at Comet A3, we're going to be looking at the full supermoon in Aries, and we're going to be looking at 2025 and preparing for winter. So grab a cup of tea, put some incense on, get comfy, and we'll explore the Witching Week. Hi everyone, thank you for being here, thank you for watching. It's Friday, which means the Witching Week. Today is episode number 93, and yeah, lots of things to talk about today. How are you all doing? How has your week been? Let me know in the comments. Today I am drinking Focus by Twinings. I forgot to save the little packet for you. I'm still working my way through these after buying a box of them some months ago. I want to show you my mug while I'm at it. I got this in, I think it was Morrison's. It says spooky and sweet, and I've never been, well, growing up I was never a big Disney fan, but as an adult, seeing this little witchy mug, I just couldn't resist. So that's what I'm drinking today. And today we are burning some Dane Owl Oud. This is one of my favourite incenses. It's really, really strong. It's very, very smoky though. And as I've said before, if you put this on, you will end up stinking out your whole house. But it's really, really deep. It's really musky. It's a really, really lovely one. It's made by Nandita. And it's pure agar wood incense. So how are you all doing? Firstly, I want to say a massive happy birthday to my daughter who's 17 today. My daughter Tabitha. I'm going to pop some of my favourite pictures of her up. It's her 17th today. Time is absolutely flying. And I am getting really old, so it feels like it anyway. So time is flying. We have got less than 2 weeks till Samhain, and I know I said it last week, but I'm gonna say it again. It seemed like it was only yesterday we were actually preparing for Beltane. This year has been so fast, so whizzy. Time is not linear, and it's been quite odd in that respect, to be honest. I think it's because I've just been busy that it's felt even quicker than usual, but I have definitely found that as you get older, time just seems to just fly. But it does weird things. 1 minute, you know, you have a year that seems fairly slow, and then you'll have a year that just seems to fly past. This has definitely been one of those years. Just a note, it's not too late, by the way, although we've got 2 weeks until Samhain, it's not too late to join my Patreon if you were thinking of doing so. We have still got loads of amazing things to come, and when you sign up you get access to everything that has already happened, so you won't miss anything if you sign up halfway into the month. It just means that there's loads for you to read and to catch up on, which is not a bad problem to have. So 2024 then, while we're on the subject, let's have a little think about that. How has it been for you? I've been prepping December for Patreon and working on some of those articles as well as November. And so I've started to think about the end of the year, but 2025 is not really that far away. Once we get past the sort of the fun and the excitement of Halloween and also Samhain, many witches are looking forward to that. It's a very important and special time to them. Once we get past that, and then we have a bit of a catching of our breaths in November. Many people start their Yule and Christmas shopping in November, so it still can be quite busy. But once we get into December, it's going to fly, isn't it? And then we're going to be in January, and we're going to be in a new calendar year. So I don't think it's too early to look back over 2024. Also, we have the end of the Celtic year and the beginning of a new one at the end of October and into the 1st of November. And so, yeah, I've been feeling very, very reflective. As I said before, the word I picked for 2024 in January was success. And I've started doing this. I've got a record of them somewhere. The last couple of years last few years, I've picked a word. And so I'm starting to wonder what my word will be. Join me in January. Let's all share our words if you decide to take part. But how has 2024 been for you? I am seeing a theme amongst the people I know It seems to have been a very, very challenging year, extremely challenging. And of course, when things are challenging, I like to look upon it as being transformative. We certainly learn more when things are difficult. I think, and I said it a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago or whatever it was, I said that I think that probably my word for this year should have been patience, but I wouldn't have picked that because I am a very patient person. But in terms of what has played out, I have needed to be very, very patient and still need to be patient. So yeah, very, very interesting year. It's not nice to see everybody being challenged quite so much, but it does make you think about, evolution as a group of people, as a society, as a globe. And it does make me wonder if, this is all part of some bigger plan. What do you think? We had a little chat, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago about the term light worker and how I feel it's a bit wanky. But, this idea that as a group of people on the planet, there are a certain number of people who are very sensitive, who think a certain way and are there to, bring up the sort of the vibration. And we're all going through a really transformative sort of period, aren't we, on Earth? It's been very difficult, but from what I know of a few people's personal stories, just so many challenges. So I'd love to hear how your year has been so far. And I don't mean, has it been good, has it been bad? I don't think we can really be that sort of, black and white about things. Like I said, when things are challenging, that means transformative, which is a very positive thing. It's never as simple as good, bad. If I had to pick one of those labels, I'd probably say bad, but at the same time, some of the things that I've been going through have given me greater insight and understanding into my life and my life in the past and also my life going forward. So it's never simple, is it? It's a complex thing, being a human being. So looking up to the skies, we are currently we have a full supermoon in Aries. The moon went full yesterday. I see my app is saying Taurus now, and I guess the moon has moved into that sign. But in my moonology book, it says full supermoon in Aries, which my app did say yesterday. I guess they count the sign as the one that it hits first when it goes full. So in magic, in witchcraft, we generally say that there is a 3-day period where you can work the moon's energies. So that's the day before it's full, that day, and then the day after. And certainly for me, on that first day of 3, so we're on the 3rd day now, but I experienced a very, very fizzy and excitable and enthusiastic and bright and keen energy. I was absolutely buzzing. I like to experience the moons without reading about them, without looking them up, without doing too much research, and then making a comparison to what some of the experts are saying. Obviously, your own sun sign and your entire birth chart really is going to have an effect on how each of these moons in their different signs are going to affect you. But I would love to know how you felt about this full supermoon in Aries. Obviously, there's always a little bit of a clue if you know the sign that the moon falls in. So Aries, we know what Aries are like, so there is obviously a little bit of bias there. But again, I just tried to sort of keep away from reading too much in the lead up to it, unless of course I actually specifically want to work with that full moon. But it's nice to compare how I feel to how the experts say I should feel. But again, your chart does have a massive influence on that. I know some people felt very sad or saddened by this moon, whereas I have just had nothing but buzzy, happy, and it's very energetic for me, and I absolutely loved it, and I'm quite sad to see the back of it. I did go out this morning and take some photos. I took a little bit of video footage, and it was just absolutely beautiful. We've got to that point in the calendar now where we get these lovely mists in the morning, and I think because I live on a cemetery, we obviously have lots of grass, so there's lots of moisture, and we do develop these amazing mists in the cemetery. So really, really beautiful. Usually full moon is very, very well, not overwhelming, but it's usually a bit too much for me, certainly in terms of trying to get some sleep. And I would say that I have had some fairly unsettled nights, but that's a thing for me at the moment anyway. But yeah, I've absolutely loved this one, and I'm sad that it's ending. Apparently, it says in my Moonology diary, it says that keywords and ideas for this lunation are potent, release, and they've put again, new emotional beginnings and powerful love. It says we're getting towards the very end of the year, but even so, I'm going to offer you the chance of a new start. How so? Note that this super full moon takes place in the first sign of the zodiac, Aries. Therefore, no matter where you are on your moon journey, and no matter how much you've used this diary, take this chance to start all over again. Work with this super full moon, the first in a fresh zodiacal cycle of full moons in the coming year. And apparently this idea of powerful love comes about because there is a Venus-Pluto alignment. So yeah, very, very interesting astrology at the moment. Staying in the skies now, have you guys managed to see Comet A3? There's only a few sort of days left, I think, maybe a week max, to see this comet before it disappears from our skies for another 80,000 years. It's called Su-Chinshan Atlas, but shortened to Comet A3. And apparently the best sort of time to see it if you're in the UK is sunset, so around about 6:30 in the evening, and you're to look west, and it is sort of fairly close to the horizon. It's not very high up in the sky, so it is above the horizon. You should be able to see it clearly, and it looks like a bright star with a long sort of cloudy tail, if you like. You know what a comet looks like. I'm sure you've seen plenty of pictures, and there were loads of lovely pictures of this. It has been such an exciting week, what with the aurora last week, and then with comets and full moons, and that full moon was so bright this morning. It was absolutely stunning. So let me know, out of these three, which ones you've managed to catch. I've seen 2 out of 3 so far. I really want to see the comet before it disappears. I need to remember, usually around about that time, we're doing all the sort of boring admin of, dinner and personal things after working in the day. So it's difficult to remember these things sometimes. And it was lovely and clear last night. Last night would have been a great opportunity. Today is kind of looking cloudy. We will see how it is later on, but if you can, try and catch that, because you won't get another chance ever again. So while I was planning this week, I usually had the TV on in the background, not something I generally watch in the day. Only very, very rarely if I'm super poorly and I have taken to the sofa, which is practically unheard of. But for some reason, I put the TV on and I was writing my notes for the witching week, and there was a programme on called Weird Britain on TV, and I was just kind of listening to it in the background, and they must have been focusing on Cornwall and the West Country. They were talking about mermaids and piskies and things like that. I caught it halfway through. And they were at the Jamaica Inn. They were in one of the bedrooms, which I've stayed in, which is said to be very, very haunted. And they got onto the subject of a witch's cradle. Now, I've obviously missed this at the museum in Boscastle. I've only been twice, once recently when we met a friend, and so I didn't really get a chance to have a proper good look, and then once many, many, many years ago, I think I was 18, so we're talking a very long time ago. And yeah, they had a witch's cradle, which I've never heard of, or I have just not paid attention to. Originally, it was a punishment. A witch or an accused witch would be put into a bag and strung up over a tree. But in time, people came to experiment with this idea because it became obvious that the sensory deprivation of being in this situation actually produced quite profound hallucinatory effects, basically. So it was experimented with, and they had this metal box that was, it had a chain, and I think the witch was put in a bag and put into this metal sort of casing and strung up. But over time, magical practitioners have actually taken this idea and played around with it. So the idea of obviously having no input with light and being up so that you're, strung up so that you're sort of dangling, produces these altered states of consciousness really, really quickly. Apparently, it can produce hallucinations, so that could be visions and sensations in under 20 minutes. And the movement of the occupant, so any movement that you make then swings the cradle and just adds to the experience. And then when you add things like sacred herbs, so in the bag with you, or perhaps via some sort of incense that's sort of burnt underneath you so that you're taking that in, whatever, but this produces these effects. So I thought that was really, really interesting. So something there for you to look up. As I've said before on the Witching Week, this is not a very, very in-depth dive into the individual subjects. It's just a range of subjects for you to go and look up and to enjoy and to explore yourself. So at this time of year, I don't know about you guys, but we definitely feel like doing some spring cleaning. Obviously, we would call this autumn cleaning. We had some bookcases delivered yesterday. Obviously, we were sort of, we didn't have any impact on the date that they were delivered, and we ordered these months ago. But we do get that real sensation at this time of year. And I've seen lots of people talking about this, about cleaning at this time of year, tidying, repairing, fixing, beautifying, making your spaces snuggly and just cozy and welcoming. And I guess it's this like preparation for winter, isn't it? We've spoken about this a little bit, this sort of nesting, I would call it. And I think it's mental preparation for winter. And I would absolutely love to be able to talk to my grandmother again and to have a look back through generations of people and see if this is something that other humans, no matter their circumstances, so if we could go back 200 years and take a look at the people that lived then, did they do this same thing at this time of year? It's really, really interesting having a group on Patreon. I get to see lots of sort of group behaviour, what everyone gets up to, and then just day to day talking to other pagans and witches I know, and comments I see on Instagram and comments you leave here. And it's really, really interesting to see these sort of repeated behaviours. And it does seem like, as part of the animal kingdom, us humans prep for winter the same as animals. So I found a lovely article online about animals prepping for winter. And it was very, very basic, and it just said the things that animals do to prepare. So they eat more, for example. I'm definitely guilty of that. When it's cold and it's damp and you're not feeling so great in your body, you definitely want to give your body a bit of a boost. Those sort of reward centres in your brain that get boosted when you eat something. So I'm definitely feeling the call to eat a bit more. They go out on warm days to find food, because the warm days, obviously, they take less energy from the body for them to do that when they're exerting themselves. So they'll use those warm days to go out to eat more. So they're loading themselves up, but also to cache. So squirrels, for example. Squirrels don't actually hibernate, I don't think. I think there's this myth that, they hoard all their nuts and then they disappear off. They don't. They're around all year long, I believe. I'll have to pay attention because we've got squirrels, but they hide that food for the winter so that they're sorted and they're okay. Animals change their appearance. They develop thicker coats. Some of them actually have sort of like grey or white coats. Anyone would think that I'm changing colour for winter. I guess I'm changing colour for my own personal winter. And many of them hibernate, or they go into a state of dormancy. I know there's one lady who watches who's got a tortoise, and he's getting ready to hibernate. I thought he'd already be asleep, but apparently he's got another week or two to go. So how can you help the animals this winter? We've spoken about animals quite a bit in the last few weeks. It's something that's been really interesting me, and is a bit of a pull actually at the moment. We can help the animals prepare for winter by feeding the birds, for example, and squirrels if you've got them. So leaving out fat balls, leaving out seeds. Obviously the squirrels will get to just about anything. You might have to find ways of making sure the birds get fed as well. I guess one way to get around that is just to put out loads of food, but we can help our birds get through the winter by just giving them loads of food. There is no harm in that. It's not gonna offset any kind of balance, I don't think, because winter is really, really difficult for them. You know, the ground can be frozen, water can be frozen. So let's help our bird species by feeding them. It's one thing that we are sort of encouraged to do. We can break the ice. Apparently this is really, really helpful. Break the ice so that the birds, you know, and other animals can get to it. Put out fresh water if you can. You know, if something's just absolutely frozen solid, just scrape the ice out if you can. If you've got a bird bath, for example, scrape the ice out and just put in fresh water, and do this as often as you can. I know it takes a little bit of effort, but it's so worth it. Our animals and our birds are really worth it. And apparently we should let the garden go wild. So if you've got a big pile of leaves that you've raked up and you keep thinking, I must put them in the bin and get rid of them, don't. Just leave them. It creates habitats for insects, which is then obviously good for small animals and the birds. So don't tidy up, just leave the garden as it is. It will look a mess until sort of springtime. Gardens always do look like that. Even if you tidy up and you sort of get rid of the leaves, you know, most plants have lost all their fullness and their colour and their flowers, and it just looks sort of sparse and not very nice anyway. So just leave things as they are. You'll be doing your little ecosystem outside your house a huge favour by doing that. So yeah, 3 ways you can help the birds and the animals this winter. I will definitely be doing what I can. We do put out food, we put out fat balls. We did have a little bird table, but the squirrels kept knocking it over. They kept climbing up it, or the wind would blow it over. And it's really difficult here because we've got like a bit of concrete around our house where we can park, but we don't actually have a garden. We only own the buildings. So yeah, we'll be finding fresh ways this year to get the food out to the birds and squirrels. So I've been watching a little bit of TV in the evenings with Justin while I've been doing some crochet, and we have watched over this week and last week, we watched the Eric and Lyle Menendez drama by Netflix called Monsters. This is actually, they're still alive, serial killers. They killed their parents, and so they're counted as serial killers because they killed 2 people. And it's more a legal drama than it is anything else, which is good. I don't want to see the gory stuff, and I don't want things to be glorified. That's my only issue with stuff like this. I feel like, you know, if we all watch it and it does really well, does that give something to the serial killers? I really, really hope not. But yeah, it was a drama, a courtroom drama more than anything, and it's about their legal case and how it went and the difficulties, and some of these sort of ambiguity of understanding, you know, what really and truly happened. There is a sense the whole way through of you're not really sure what to believe. It was so well done. It stars Evan Peters, Cooper Koch, Javier, I can't pronounce my words today, Javier Bardem and Chloe Sevigny. Very good indeed, well worth the watch. We were absolutely hooked the whole way through. And there is actually another documentary, or a documentary should I say, this was a drama, on Netflix, which actually records the brothers speaking about the case. So I'm not so sure about watching that one. Again, I don't like to give attention to these people, although it is important to watch these things and just be aware of the things that can happen. And also, you know, in this case, it was not sure whether they were the victims of abuse or whether they were after their parents' money. And it could be that, you know, they were convicted for something, you know, for being victims, basically. I don't think that was the case. There was lots of evidence to suggest that, you know, they weren't being abused. But anyway, watch it and decide for yourselves. We've really enjoyed it this week. One thing I'm intending to enjoy this week is a book that Justin bought me just before we packaged our books up, so I never had a chance to have a proper flick through, but I got this in the gift shop at Burley House in Stamford, and I can't wait to have a look. It's a book of lost countryside wisdom. So I'm hoping there's nothing too gruesome in there. If you live in the countryside, you'll understand that. But yeah, there's stuff in here about foraging, and there's folklore, all sorts of interesting bits and bobs in there. So I'm going to read that this week, or have a look at it anyway, and I'll let you know how I get on with that. Time to do some cards now for you guys. Let's have a little look at the energy ahead. Thank you very much if you've had a tarot reading with me this week. I am now starting to take some of those on. I have got a very busy couple of months ahead, but then when we get to January, I'll definitely have a bit more space for things like tarot readings. So yeah, if you would like one, just get in touch anyway, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so we have 3 cards today. We have the Empress, we have Judgment, and we have Queen of Pentacles. And it's funny because this might not be a traditional sort of reading, but straight away, straight into my head from these cards is the message that if you are given a compliment, then please take it. The way we see ourselves is often very different to the way other people see ourselves, you know, see us. So I know it can be really difficult when someone says, oh, you look amazing, or you look beautiful, or your hair looks beautiful. That means that that particular person has seen something in you. They've seen something in you that you're not able to see from a photograph or from video. Even if we see ourselves in these things, we never ever get to see the true us. We never really get to see how we move, how we look, how our body looks, our facial expressions. You know, even when I watch this back, this recording of the Witching Week, I expect it still doesn't quite look the same to, say, Justin, or a friend, or anyone that stood next to me. So these cards are telling you about your beauty, basically. Judgment is about judgment, and quite often that is of ourselves. It does often come up if we've got a big decision to make, but with its appearance with the Empress and the Queen of Pentacles, both very feminine and nurturing and creative characters who are in flow with themselves and flow with the universe. They listen to their intuition and their higher selves. I'm saying it's okay for you to take a compliment. It's okay. And I'm talking male or female here. When we talk about the energies of these cards, they apply to everyone. We each have that male and female energy within us. And it comes out in different areas for different things that we're doing. We're talking active and passive energy here. And I just feel like these cards are saying, you know, you're beautiful just the way you are. You don't have to have that judgment of yourself. You can nurture yourself. You can be kind to yourself. You can pamper yourself. And that is because you're a beautiful individual inside and out. So tap into these feminine, nurturing, I'm going to say passive because that's, you know, that's how we talk in terms of magical correspondence, is passive and active. That doesn't mean that women are passive and men are active. You know, none of this is black and white. These are very sort of magical and loose terms in that respect. They flow, you know, they're not in square boxes. But yeah, just take that time this weekend. If you haven't been feeling it about yourself, and you have been feeling down on yourself, and you have been feeling critical and judgmental, if people around you are giving you compliments, then that obviously means that there's something there about you is special. You know, everybody is special. As somebody who's trained as a holistic therapist, in particular a massage therapist, I can tell you that there isn't a single body that I've ever seen that is ugly, and I try to apply that knowledge to myself when I am being negative and not very kind to myself. Every single body is beautiful in its own way, and no one is truly ugly. It's about what's inside as much as anything, and that radiates out. So if you've been hard on yourself recently, I want you to take some time out to nurture yourself and to take care of yourself, a bit of self-care. Often one way to feel better is to go out into nature, so I want you to do that. And if somebody gives you a compliment, just say thank you so much. And over time, it gets much, much easier to do this. When you keep up that nurturing, and we're talking about nurturing of self here rather than nurturing of others, when you just say, oh, thank you, that's very kind of you. When you say that over and over again, each time you get a compliment, you do change the way you think. So that is your work for this week between now and next Friday. If that is something that's been difficult for you, that is something I want you to work on. I want you to think about the good things about yourself, inside and out, physical. I know sometimes people avoid this exercise. You know, if you ask them to name 3 things about them that they like, they'll say, oh, well, I'm very practical. Oh, well, I'm very good at learning. Oh, I've got a very good memory. No, what are 3 things that you like about your body, your appearance? I want you to think about that, and I want you to just bat away any negative thoughts, feelings or associations that come into your head. And if someone gives you a compliment, you say thank you. Don't say, oh, even saying, oh, that's very kind of you, almost sounds as if, you know, it's just the other person doing you a favour. Just say thank you very much. And over time, it will get easier. When we're on a magical journey, it's really, really important to be accepting of who we are and our place in the universe. And if we can create magic, then that makes us magical beings, which makes us really, really special. And one of the most amazing things, and again, I say this as a witch and as a holistic therapist and as just as a human, one of the most amazing things is how different we all are. And the fact that someone might have amazing hair that you think's amazing and you feel like you don't have that, that's incredible. They have that one special thing about them that is absolutely brilliant. But guess what? You have something about you as well. It might be that you've got amazing eyes, or you've got a smile that really makes your eyes twinkle. I am so enthusiastic about this topic because it is true. And I've gone from someone who had terrible body dysmorphia when I was a kid, when I was about 14, 15, to someone who has realised that every single person on this planet is beautiful, and that includes you. So on that note, let's have a fantastic witching week. I'm wishing you a wonderful, wonderful week. Enjoy the beautiful weather. We've got that here in my part of the UK at least. I realise that you might not all have that, but have a wonderful week, whatever the weather. Yeah, have a brilliant one, and I'll be back next Friday. So take care of yourselves and each other. Love and blessings.